Lance, it's great to see you. So new home sales, they fell by 5.6%, Lance, in October. That was a bit weaker than expected, it looks like. Give me your take on the report, Lance. What did you make of it?
Yeah, so I think big picture, home sales have kind of bounced off the bottom that occurred at the end of 2022, came up a little bit this year as the affordability adjustments builders made kind of brought some buyers into the market, given just how deteriorated affordability is in the resale market and the fact that, existing homeowners just haven't moved down much on prices. And since then, we've seen some softening during the seasonally soft period of the year. The first half of the year is always seasonally the stronger window. The back half is always seasonally the weaker. And during this weaker period, in particular in October, mortgage rates had pushed up to 8%. They got an 8 handle. And actually, affordability, accounting for incomes, prices, and mortgage rates, affordability was at the worst levels in 40 years in October 2023. And since then, we've seen some improvement. Mortgage rates now have come back down around like 7.3%. And so the guess is that probably as we head into next year, as long as we don't retest that 8 handle, and as we move into the seasonally stronger period of the year, that there will be some improvement again when it comes in particular for the new home sales.
So even if we get the improvement in sales, there was another story that caught our eye that cited Redfin data that more people are selling their homes at a loss now for less than what they paid. Are we going to see that really start to go up as well as people maybe are forced to sell for various life reasons?
Yeah, during the pandemic housing boom, it was really, really hard to sell at a loss, just given how fast house prices were moving up across the country. Between March 2020 and like June 2022, you saw house prices on a national level move up 45%. And then some markets like Boise and Austin over 60% in just over 2 years. So it was really hard to sell for a loss during that window. But as rates have went up, there has been some pockets of the country where house prices have fallen. In particular in Texas, parts of Louisiana, some areas of the Mountain West. So in some of those areas, people who bought at the peak and now if they're getting called back into the office, maybe they were in Boise and they have to go back to Seattle, some of them could sell at a loss. It's still a very, very tiny number, but you are seeing some of that. You aren't seeing much of it in the Northeast. You're not seeing much of it in the Midwest. And the reason being is that house prices there continue to move up at a steady pace this year, despite mortgage rates pushing up to 7%.
And Lance, back to that new home sales report, I'm just interested. We often talk about these reports like it's one big number, but are there regional differences there in new home sales, Lance, to call out? Regional differences that are sort of interesting, West, Midwest, South that you would highlight?
When it comes to the housing market at large, the really interesting part right now is there's a lot of weakness in Texas, a lot of weakness in Louisiana. And those markets, they saw prices move up fairly fast during the pandemic, but they've also been hit by insurance shocks. Home insurance is moving up fairly fast in Texas and Louisiana. And those pockets also had some supply, in particular, like Travis County, Austin, Texas, San Antonio, a lot of Texas, and then around the Dallas area as well. You've just seen some weakening because there is some supply. And so some of the buyers in those markets have a bit of an edge and can kind of negotiate. Whereas in the Northeast, if you're shopping in Connecticut, inventory active listings on Realtor.com between October 2019 and October 2023 are down 80%. So think about that for a second. That means for every 4 homes for sale in a place like Hartford, Connecticut, there's now just 1 home for sale. So sellers in those parts of the country where inventory is still very, very low, they just have an edge over buyers.
Well, either that or all of us should move to Texas and what was the other one? Louisiana, I guess, or Mississippi, down to the south. So Lance, and you mentioned that part of the dynamic here is the people getting called back to the office, right? Is there demand, though, for the houses that they're selling that might be a little bit further out?
Yeah, I think it's on a case by case basis, and there's a tremendous amount of regional bifurcation in the country. And so you are still seeing some of that work from home arbitrage happen in the country, but you're seeing it more of in exurbs, right? Like, so people aren't necessarily buying in Boise, completely relocating now. And instead, they're kind of looking further out into the suburbs and finding homes that, hey, maybe I could commute 2 days from this home. And so, just a lot of regional bifurcation right now is happening in the housing market. And, a part of it is just how fast prices have moved up, how fast rates have moved up, and the fact that in some parts of the country, demand is pulled back faster than supply. And then in other parts, supply is pulled back faster than demand.
Lance Lambert, thank you as always for joining us, Lance. That was great. Appreciate it.